Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Plus. I'm Shweta Kothari. We're bringing you stories from the world of business, policy and economy. But to wrap up the year, we're also bringing you stories of the people that made news, the corporates that were in news, and all the headlines as we wrap up this brilliant year. It was a year when a lot happened, particularly in India, but talking first about global. With me are my colleagues Karthik Malhotra and Krishna Kumar. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Let's quickly begin with the top newsmaker of the year, and it has to be Elon Musk. Elon Musk, for what value he brought when he bought Twitter and the value Twitter currently stands at the moment. Year 2023, if you were to sum it up for Elon Musk, Karthik, how would you? Maybe in a line or quick few words.
In a line, I would just call it absolute chaos, absolute volatility and absolute confusion on what Twitter was, what X is and what Elon Musk in the realm of social media stands for.
All right. And Krishna, volatility, of course, a chaos that is unabated. We don't know about what's going to happen at Twitter. Of course, Elon Musk has a variety of ideas. He is hoping to turn the fortunes around for Twitter, but we do know that the valuation has tanked dramatically.
Yes, the main problem and the culprit in all of these things is the fact that there's something called as advertising revenues, which Twitter used to have, which X has almost ceased to have. So we all know how he feels about advertisers. Even after all that's happened, advertisers have collectively deserted X as a platform, and Elon Musk at the end of the year made his intentions clear, using the F word as to what he doesn't have to give, Fs he doesn't have to give when it comes to advertisers and their attitude towards X as a platform. The question here is that, was that just bluster, or does he have actual plans to find ways for X to make money in the year 2024?
All right, so we don't know whether he's going to make money in 2024. That it will be a realm of speculation. But let's take a look at step by step how the year has been for Elon Musk. Now, he bought Twitter last year. Since then, a lot has changed by the way of management, the policy initiatives, and the advertising business. As Krishna pointed to, advertising revenues have dwindled on the back of the fact that big corporates have decided not to back Elon Musk. It hasn't turned out really well for him, Karthik.
So, Shweta, I mean, with Elon Musk, you don't even know actually where to begin. But I think if we were to put a definite start point to this whole change of guard, change of ownership at Twitter, it all began in October 2022. We are at the end of 2023 right now. So the troubles that began in Twitter the vintage is more than a year now. And remember those visuals initially of Elon Musk walking in with that wash basin into the office of Twitter and pretty much signaling that it's cleanup time. What he wanted to clean up, apart from revenues, apart from ad revenue, we don't know. But that is something that he's completely wiped out. But it all started with, that typical Elon Musk style, not giving an F like Krishna said, which in fact Elon Musk said, and coming in with that wash basin and telling employees that changes are going to happen at Twitter. And look at the changes that happened. Immediately, I think in the first week or so of Elon Musk taking over, about 30% of the workforce was wiped off.
Left, right, center.
So that was the first sort of, first set of items in his to-do list going into the drain of that wash basin. Now, cut to another month or so later, that number goes up to about 50% of the workforce gone. In fact, almost the entire Twitter India team was also dismantled.
The public policy team particularly.
Exactly. Right. Now, what was Elon Musk really trying to do? I think Elon Musk did not want to be dependent on ad revenue to begin with. So one of the early stage interventions that he made in a fairly decent, doing great valued company called Twitter was that he said the blue tick, which is supposed to be a tick of authenticity, or which was supposed to be a tick of somebody who brings real authentic value to the platform, he did away with that. So anybody could now, after Elon Musk's new policies at Twitter, buy that blue tick for as little as $8 a month. And with that little investment of $8 a month, your reach could be expanded to millions of people out there. Minus the blue tick, your reach got curtailed. With the blue tick that you paid for, whether you were an authority on the subject that you were writing, tweeting on or not, notwithstanding, you could reach to millions of people with just one little 280 character post. Now that became a tool for misinformation, because what Mr. Musk had also done in the process was, in all the people that he fired and got rid of, a good component of that was the fact check team at Twitter. So the fact check team was done away with. Anybody with a blue tick could reach millions of people. Ad revenue was slowly giving way to subscription driven revenue. Not that too many people subscribed to it, but there were many who did, and eventually that led to, which we saw during the end of the year, October 1st week to November mid onwards, we saw that this blue tick and this irrational reach was a tool for spreading misinformation in the context of the Israel-Hamas war. Now, linked to this were also Twitter and Elon Musk's own anti-Semitic posts and tweets, which in any case further riled the advertisers. And these advertisers are big money spenders, include the likes of Disney, for example, right? So all of these guys decided that we are not going to advertise on Twitter. And Twitter's revenues through the whole year, and Twitter in the interim had become X, Twitter's revenue, which were in any case pretty low, it was a $4 billion profit revenue-making company, ad revenues of $4 billion. He bought Twitter for $44 billion, which was 11x of the top line of the company. I mean, I think the basic thumb rule is about 4x of revenue. He bought it for 11x of revenue. Those revenues stand to under $1 billion. So, in any case, the question started arising, did he overpay for Twitter? Did he do obviously all the foolhardy things of getting rid of people, especially the fact check team? Did he put too much emphasis on the blue tick subscription driven revenue and letting ad revenue take a back seat? And all of that has left this big dark X and a question mark on X, that what is your source of revenue? And the answer to that is X. You don't know. So can somebody solve X for Elon Musk? I think 2024 should be that year where the value of X really comes out.
One thing for sure, by the end of 2023, you had enough and more people who just didn't want to call the platform X because they were so unhappy with all the changes that Elon Musk brought to the platform that they were ashamed, or they were just like, saying the fact that I will not call this X anymore. This remains Twitter as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, Twitter has such a great recall value. It became a noun. To tweet became a noun, and Twitter in itself became a household name.
You can't X it anymore.
Change that to
you can tweet something. You can't X something.
So to add to that, apart from the whole boom of disinformation and misinformation that Twitter led in the public space with respect to Twitter, there were changes in the management. Linda Yaccarino was also brought in to manage day-to-day affairs. We don't know if she's still managing from the back seat or from the driver's seat.
I mean, we know who the puppet master
but
is,
we don't
right?
know. We know who the puppet master is. But to add to that, I think it's also important to point out the whole change, rebranding from Twitter to X, solely to make it a super app. The dream was to make it a super app, an app through which you can do it all. You can make it a payments app, you can perhaps use it to converse with one another, an audio call or a video call, or a platform to do it all. Now that dream also, Krishna, remains a little far-fetched at the moment.
Right, and talking about payments, their payments themselves went down after wanting to make it a payment platform. Not enough payments coming into Twitter in the form of revenues and advertising revenue. The super app plan is, to me right now, a moonshot at this stage, because right now X has a credibility issue. It has to find ways to regain some of the credibility that was lost in recent times. Questions on its fact-checking ability, questions on its ability to stop misinformation, questions on its ability to stop any kind of problems that people, its users, can eventually end with. So to me, 2024 will be a year in which Elon Musk first has to regain all the goodwill that Twitter had that X doesn't have, and then even think about making it into a super app.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, I want to know what should be the priority. I mean, I'm sure lots of people who want to suggest Elon Musk what to do. But given that the revenues are dwindling, a valuation is down to $14 billion from $44 billion, what should be priority areas for Twitter and for Elon Musk?
So, Shweta, I think it's easy for us to sit here on a couch and give advice to somebody like Elon Musk. But I think just as a student of economics and as a student of business communications, business studies, I think one very obvious idea that comes to mind is, purely looking at how Twitter has been run or X has been run for the last 1.5 years or so, I think the very simple fundamental objective right now needs to be for Elon Musk, the owner of X, to take a back seat, at least for a while, become a little hands-off. You really don't need to have that eureka moment every day. You really don't need to call every single shot on the platform. You have a professional CEO. Let the professional CEO be given at least a couple of months of time, maybe more, maybe about 6 months to 9 months of time with zero intervention from Elon Musk, and let the professional CEO do the job of running the company. Now, what would the CEO strategy be? I think a lot will have to eventually depend on the fact that A, it is election year, and it is election year in the largest two democracies of the world, which is US and India. Even if you were to keep India aside right now, because India contribution to X's total business would be negligible, if any, right now. Even if they were to focus on US as a market right now, at least as a revenue deriving market, then let the professional CEO do the job of, number one, making sure that there is some sort of a fact check in place, that US elections 2024 do not become deepfake elections, do not become AI generated misinformation, disinformation elections. So I think by way of doing that, there is going to be some regaining of trust back in the platform. Once you begin with trust, I think some source of revenue is going to follow.
Absolutely.
To my mind, it would have to be ad revenue, because the blue tick, paid blue tick strategy, $8 a month, reduce it to $1 a month, annual plan discounted, all of that is great for a Netflix. All of that is great for an OTT platform. It's wonderful for any entertainment avenue. But at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, Twitter has pretty much become a source of news. It is a platform where people post news.
So there has to be
and
more
the
credibility
authenticity
to the
of news should be maintained. And the fact that Elon Musk is involved day to day doesn't let the professionals do their job. So my limited, I wouldn't call it advice, but my limited understanding from a huge distance of how things are happening globally and especially at X right now would be that Elon Musk should perhaps concentrate more on Tesla, should look at Tesla's entry into India perhaps
considering the fact that right at the fag end of the year, Tesla had to recall over 2 million vehicles in the US, nearly all of its vehicles in the US because of a faulty autopilot system. So, I mean, clearly he has to figure out where to focus his energies upon and prioritize as far as the year 2024 is concerned.
Right, so I think prioritize, and that is the message that Elon Musk will have to ride on as far as the upcoming year is concerned. Also take a back seat perhaps when it comes to Twitter, and maybe drive that drive that Tesla car and ensure that the focus remains on Tesla. And one of the biggest movers and shakers perhaps was Sam Altman, the man behind generative AI ChatGPT. ChatGPT, Karthik Krishna, was in the news for right and wrong reasons, in the news for right reasons, for introducing to the world what AI can do. But Sam Altman's own life was quite muddy, come to think of it. Very, very difficult terrain that he had to surpass. Some of the biggest challenges that came his way by the way of a board that fired him, rehired him, and the board that he fired after he was rehired. Sam Altman is the CEO of the year according to Time, and rightly so.
I don't know, rightly so or not, Shweta, but yeah, I think barring those 3, 4 days, 5 days perhaps of his life being muddled, I think he had a pretty rocking year, if you ask me. And if there is one man who would really end 2023 on a very, very successful high note, it would be Sam Altman, right?
Apart from Satya Nadella, of course.
Yeah, sure, true. And for the same reasons, right? So I think, so what really happened? How did the year start? I think it was beginning of the year, Jan this year, when we were all hearing of something called ChatGPT for the first time. And not surprising, I think it wasn't just us. Everybody in the world was discovering this new toy out there in the market that you could either download on your phones or you could just log into, paying nothing initially and then a little bit subsequently. And you really had an engine, a chat engine out there that would dish out practically everything that you wanted in any style you wanted. And then coupled with that, ChatGPT, of course, was the headliner of the year and the fastest growing app, the most downloaded app, all those numbers did the headlines. But little did we know back then, which we discovered subsequently, that ChatGPT wasn't the only offering from OpenAI. The other offering was another generative AI image generator called DAL-E. And these two then eventually got combined in the fourth generation of ChatGPT, which was ChatGPT 4. Now, all of this made OpenAI obviously one of the biggest, most talked about AI companies in the world.
It's biggest since Google.
Biggest since Google. It was touted to be the
Absolutely.
biggest, the most revolutionary since Google. And remember, and since we're talking about Google, this was exactly the year when that fight for AI was absolutely rife between three dominant players. One being Google, and Google's own chatbot called Bard, which we've seen little versions of that, but it hasn't really yet been able to make an impact or a real dent in the AI landscape. The other was Microsoft, because Microsoft, remember, also had a fairly exciting year with, of course, the acquisition of the gaming company, Game Vision or something, if I'm not mistaken, what it was called, and that the maker of of Call of Duty. But anyway, so that is digressing, but that is Microsoft. So there was Google, there was Microsoft, and there was the Chinese player Baidu. The three of them were seen as front runners in development of AI.
And then Elon Musk also joined the fray.
Elon Musk, of course, joined the fray with XAI, etc. But again, I mean, you've also seen Wipro and Infosys and a lot of Indian
But
IT
Musk
companies.
joins a lot of frays.
And Musk continued to sit on the board of OpenAI in any case. But
Yeah.
anyway, what I'm coming to is that between Google, Microsoft and Baidu, there was this one out of nowhere, out of nothing, never heard of company called OpenAI and a man called Sam Altman, who comes and starts leading that race by miles. So the first thing that Satya Nadella decided to do was make a very, very solid $10 billion investment in OpenAI. And OpenAI then obviously got wings of its own to fly on, and it became a very, very exciting story. And as it was developing, I think it was 17th of November, if I'm not mistaken, when Sam Altman got fired. Got fired by the board. Suggesting that Sam Altman had not been candid with the board about what is up at OpenAI. Later we discovered, so now that entire weekend starting, I think it was a Thursday or a Friday, in fact, it was a Friday morning, 17th November, when Sam Altman gets fired, and then that entire weekend news erupting over the next 2 days of Satya Nadella offering Sam Altman a job at Microsoft, 600 people at OpenAI showing that strength of unity, wanting to resign from OpenAI, all of them willing to join Microsoft. And in that entire process, a new CEO gets hired at OpenAI. I think Emil Shear was the name, if I'm not mistaken, and he had come from Twitch. And thereafter comes Monday, and the tables have turned once again. It's done a full 360-degree turn, and Sam Altman is back in the driver's seat. So I think a very, very exciting year there for Sam Altman, no doubt. Now, what happened thereafter was, of course, that the board members that did not sing the same tune as Sam Altman were fired from the board. Now remember, the board of OpenAI, and OpenAI as a company is actually a trust. It is supposed to be a non-profit making trust. The problem that the board had with Sam Altman was that Sam Altman had become revenue focused, was looking at B2B solutions, partnering with Microsoft, etc., to really have this power of OpenAI and ChatGPT integrated in the entire technology spectrum. Now, the board A did not like that, and that was our original understanding of the story. And as days passed, we realized that Sam Altman was onto something else, and that was called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence.
And this is
this
where
is
it
something
gets
that
interesting.
irked the board, because Sam Altman had not been candid with the board about AGI and what AGI can do and how it can disrupt the whole AI landscape, which we know very little of still. I think its potential is huge, and
I think
that
at
is where
this
the
point
story
we
was.
have to tell our viewers what is AGI. What do we know of AGI?
Okay, well, to just paraphrase Sam Altman himself, he's saying that the world is yet to discover the true potential of AI, and AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, is actually a technology which we've seen in sci-fi movies decades in the making really coming to life now. And this was his interview, in fact, to the Time magazine after he was named CEO of the year, or just ahead of that. And he said that this is in fact going to be one AI tool which will challenge human abilities like we've never seen before. And that perhaps was the risk, and that was the fear that the board of OpenAI had, that you're developing something taming which could be a challenge, and unleashing that potential out to the world in the absence of very, very stringent regulations, in the absence of a general understanding of what AI can do and what AI should be permitted to do, is what really made the board skeptical of Sam Altman. But yeah, AGI is level next of AI. It is something that we've seen in sci-fi movies, and it is something that is going to apparently be even smarter than human intelligence. I mean, you would not want to believe that, and you would not perhaps want that to happen. It will possibly challenge people like us, but the smartest people out there getting challenged by AI should not be taken kindly, I think, in the world.
And before we move forward, this is a story that has captured people's imagination from start to finish. January, I remember we were sitting here in the News9 studios. We just started talking about what ChatGPT cannot do. Apart from the fact that it was widely downloaded, got 1 million subscribers right at the beginning. That was when the story started. The competition started developing in, and subsequent to which the turbulence that Sam Altman has seen in his life. But what's to come, Krishna, I think, by the way of general intelligence, artificial general intelligence that Karthik explained a little bit of, is going to be the future as far as 2024 is concerned for Sam Altman and OpenAI.
Right. I really don't want to be the crystal ball gazer when it comes to artificial general intelligence, of which Mr. Altman himself says that the world knows very little about, including artificial intelligence. But what did happen, I would say, the way the story captured popular imagination, it certainly gave many a sense of deja vu about what happened with Apple and Steve Jobs, and how he was kicked out by the board, eventually only to come back as the prodigal son and to take Apple to new heights and launch the iPod first, and then the iPhone eventually, and then the rest, as I say, is history. But in the
that took some time. This took 5 days.
Yeah,
Friday to Wednesday, tables had turned.
Right. That's how fast technology was moving 20 years ago as compared to now. That's what I would say. 20 years ago, it was a matter of months or some years, and these days it's a matter of days or a matter of hours. For example, we went from the first edition of ChatGPT to the next edition of ChatGPT in a matter of 3 months or 4 months. That's all it took for a technology that's largely under-discovered or undiscovered, so to speak. So in that sense, it was a hark back to that times of the kind of, if you all thought, like, if you just heard about Steve Jobs as the iconic founder of Apple, who, and nobody would have guessed that he was thrown out of the company at one point in time. 10 years down the line, when people are talking about Sam Altman, the great of artificial intelligence, I'm sure we will have to go and tell those people what happened 10 years ago in the year 2023 when Sam Altman was thrown out unceremoniously. So the way I look at it, I'm seeing this both 20 years before and how we talk about Altman 10 years from now. What happened in 2023 would be one of the most pivotal moments in Sam Altman's life.
For Sam Altman, also for OpenAI, because what's to come as far as artificial general intelligence is concerned, we don't even know 1/4 of it, 1/10 of it, I would say. And that is going to be the big surprise for 2024. What OpenAI does, what it does when it comes to artificial intelligence, we'll keep tracking that. But shifting focus to another entity that has been in the news, and I call it entity, not a person or an individual, because there are a variety of people involved. We're talking about cryptocurrency, a word which many frown upon, at the same time cannot avoid talking about. Let's talk about all the turbulence that crypto industry has seen by the way of FTX and Binance, two of the biggest exchanges. Their founders were found guilty of money laundering, of cheating people, but cryptocurrency and the momentum in cryptocurrency continues to sustain, Karthik. People are still buying, they're still dealing with it. All governments on governments from India to US to Europe, talk about how we need to tame cryptocurrency, how we need to do away with cryptocurrency, but that is not happening.
So, Shweta, I think cryptocurrency, of course, has been this enigma, and nobody really across the world yet has been able to understand how do you assign or ascribe a true value to an asset class that is not backed by any physical resources at the end of the day, right? So cryptocurrencies have been a gray area for the world. India has been obviously, much slower in really first appreciating the problem and then making up its mind on, is it legal, is it illegal? It's definitely unregulated, but the fact that now there is a tax on cryptocurrencies, on the gains that you make by trading crypto, which cannot be offset against the losses, and you pay a flat 30% tax. So cryptocurrency, to my mind, while frowned upon, like you said, is perhaps still not illegal in India. However, it is not legal tender, barring 1 or 2 countries in the world, it is not legal tender anywhere. Now, there have, of course, been a lot of movements in the world of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin to be specific, but cryptocurrency as a category in general. Even when Elon Musk, who we've discussed extensively on this show, launched his own Dogecoin. Right. Now, the challenge really came about, I think, why 2023 was monumental, Krishna, was this whole collapse of FTX, which actually happened in 2022. And then there was this long inquiry case against Sam Bankman-Fried. And Sam Bankman-Fried was found guilty, of course, on a few very, very critical charges. And one of them, of course, was that there was misappropriation of funds. The fact that there were people who had taken on to FTX as a platform, parked their money there, bought bitcoins and bought other crypto assets, and that money was beautifully taken away, spent on luxuries, spent on villas and cars and holiday houses. And Sam Bankman-Fried pretty much did not return the gains that were accruing on people's investments on his platform to them, rather pocketed most of it. So it was a pure play case of misgovernance, lack of corporate governance, lack of ethics, for which obviously he had to pay a price.
Absolutely, and defrauding customer. And then comes Binance, Krishna, and the story did not get any better. One of the most revered names in crypto market, CZ, was pleading guilty. He pleaded guilty to, violating the US money laundering laws, and since then it hasn't gotten any better for crypto.
Right, and that in a year in which Sam Bankman-Fried is finally convicted and sent to jail, and that's the problem over here. The number 1 and number 2 crypto exchanges both in the dock, with one, one's fortunes almost, nailed completely, and then begs the question, in a year, in the same year in which the number 1 and number 2 crypto exchanges go under the bus, you have Bitcoin scaling a new all-time high and crossing $40,000 mark. And they say in 2024, Bitcoin is eyeing something around $45,000. So to me, as everybody talks about crypto and continues to discuss crypto, the way I look at it is that if I don't see the money, it doesn't exist. That's the only conclusion that I can come to at this stage. I really would suggest everybody watching this broadcast to use utmost caution when it comes to investing in cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency related products, because the news that came about the crypto market, barring the Bitcoin price, is everything it has to associated with it means that there has to be extra caution when people look at cryptos and Bitcoins and other Dogecoins and others as investment options.
Going back to the regulation around crypto, and I think that's been a big question mark. Now, in India's presidency during G20, India also decided to regulate crypto, at least come out with some sort of framework. I think a general consensus has been that you cannot ignore crypto, you cannot wish it away, so might as well regulate it. So that framework is yet to be signed on, awaited,
pending,
formalized.
in fact, for many years now, Shweta. I think we really started talking seriously about cryptocurrencies back in 2019, 2020. With the pandemic 2020, people didn't have much to do sitting at home. So we saw this real momentum in people investing or trading in cryptocurrencies. And that really led to this huge debate about the regulation of cryptocurrencies. Now, even under India's presidency of the G20, we haven't really yet been able to form a true regulation. Now, the point is, who's going to regulate cryptocurrencies, and what is India's real fear? I think India has been a victim of terror. And one of the main red flags for India, 2 main red flags, the primary one being that crypto could be used as a source for terror financing. Right. And that is something that we have seen in the case of Binance. And that is the charge that CEO Changpeng Zhao has pleaded guilty to. Not terror financing, that is not the charge he's pleaded guilty to, but money laundering or anti-money laundering laws of US. In violation of those, he has pleaded guilty because there has been a trail that suggests that money was taken off from the shores of the US and part of it was perhaps used for funding the Israel-Hamas war. And that money made it, one way or another, to the Hamas terrorists. And that, of course, has brought this whole question of terror financing back in limelight. What was the second concern that India has had? One, of course, was terror financing. Terror financing is actually a byproduct of money laundering. And money laundering is actually the biggest problem, because cryptocurrency, by virtue of, it is blocked using blockchain, right? So you can't, it's not a transparent ledger system, it's a distributed ledger system. So you really don't know the source of origin and the source of destination, or the final destination.
Where the money is going.
So you don't know where has it come from, how many hands has it passed, and where has it eventually reached. Now in the US particularly, the problem with Binance also was that where is Binance headquartered? And do you need really a cryptocurrency exchange or any such asset which is borderless in that sense, by way of the transactions that it can make, to really have a physical country specific headquarter? So which law of which land applies to which exchange? Now, CZ is a person of Chinese origin. He did not set up an office in China. There was news that he first went to Singapore to set up an office. Then he was in Canada. Then he was in US. So you realize that in this borderless transaction world of crypto assets, where do you tax? Who does the inquiry? Who does the investigation? The fact that he was operating, or the company was operating out of US when this money laundering charge really got framed against him, is when this realization set in that yes, the US courts and the US judiciary has to take the final call, and that is the charge that CZ has pleaded guilty to, and paying a fine of as high as $4 billion of his own wealth, and there is also a fine on Binance. Now, coming back to what Krishna was saying, obviously, there has been a lot of, upheavals in the world of cryptocurrencies. First with FTX, the largest, then with Binance, the second largest crypto exchange. Yet, Bitcoin cryptocurrencies are surging to new heights. People are not getting scared.
Ethereum is up 7%.
Exactly.
Bitcoin is up 6%. Literally every major cryptocurrency has had a good year in 2023.
Right. So whether you like it or not, people are buying crypto, people are trading in crypto, and perhaps time for that regulation, that global framework, which has now been awaited for a while now. But cryptocurrency continues to remain a popular transactional entity despite government fears all around the world. But with that, we've come to the end of this show. Thank you very much for watching.